exempel HBTQ är illegalt. Facket plus HBTQI är lika med sant, frågar vi oss. Det här är ett arrangemang av Union to Union och vi har Maja Åse som är kommunikationschef där som modererar, och våra gäster som vi kan kalla upp är Olena Shevchenko som är Head of Insight på en ukrainsk HBTQ-organisation. Vi har Khaled Alesmael, hoppas jag, som är journalist och författare. Khaled, välkommen. Och Ruben Wågman som är påverkanshandläggare på Union to Union. Warm welcome.
Thank you all.
And keep it close to the chin.
Nej, det är bara jag som letar efter mitt manus här.
You don't live here.
Hello everyone, welcome to our seminar, 20 minutes on LGBT and trade unions, true or false. So, Khaled, you've been working as a journalist here in Sweden, but you're also a writer. Your first novel, Selamlik, is just published.
Yeah.
And for those who are interested, Khaled will sign books afterwards on the left side over there. We're going to talk about LGBT people who are excluded from the workplaces all over the world. Discrimination and harassments are common, and where legislation do exist, it is often not put into practice. And Khaled, you have written your novel. How many gay novels have so far came out from Syria?
Well, it's the first one of ever.
Yeah.
Selamlik is the first gay novel coming out from Syria. It tells it reveals the invisible gay life in Damascus, Aleppo, and the east of Syria. Before, of course, we still live in dictatorship regime, our regime against homosexuality and democracy. So we cannot talk about the homosexuality as a topic in the media, except if we describe it as a crime, as the law in Syria says, like homosexuality sex or homosexual sex, or like they call it illegal sex. Gay people, men and women, can go to jail from 6 months to 2 years. So of course it's forbidden. We talk about it in the media as a bad thing, but here, maybe from the beginning, I will say Sweden still give great opportunity for many writers and artists. And Leopard here in Sweden published the first gay novel revealing the secrets of the gay life in Syria. And we have it now in a book and a story. We can read it, and we can get inspired, learn, and also learn new thing and enjoy reading, even if it was invisible, but it was interesting and big.
So we're going to talk about workplaces and the role of the trade unions and the discrimination on LGBT people. You once, Khaled, got advice from your mother on how, as a gay man, how to get a job and make a career. What was her advice?
Well, she said to me that as a person, a gay man in Syria, she knew about me. We talked about my sexual identity with her. I talked, and she was so cool, like most of the moms around the world, you know. She embraced me and she loved me more, and she gave me advice to enjoy and to keep the things that make me happy, and as long as the homosexuality make me feeling happy, I have to keep it. But she gave me another advice on the other side, to not to be open in my workplace, because I will lose my work. Also, I will lose also some social life in Syria, because, you know, it's in Syria, they don't relate the homosexuality to the religion so much, because I cannot say Syria is Islamic country. It's like, or Catholic. No, it's mixed, like between many religions in Syria. So as a conservative country, you cannot live an openly gay person just because you cannot, not maybe, for sure you will not get jobs. And I know many gay people, they really didn't get job because they look queer. People are like a little bit feminine, and also gay women, because they are stronger than men. They threaten the masculinity, you know. So this is the situation in the workplace.
So what do you say, Olena? Is that an advice that mothers give their children also in Ukraine? If you are LGBT, keep quiet, stay in the closet, don't reveal yourself.
I don't know how to answer on this question. Usually an issue of visibility is really questionable in Ukraine towards the coming out issues, towards different identities. And of course, it's not like allowed in Ukrainian public sphere to talk about your sexuality or your gender identity because of the homophobia and transphobia. And it's here we need to understand that you know, the social climate which constructs this reality, then people usually think that you don't have to manifest your sexuality or gender identity. It's a homophobic discourse, because they will never say the same thing to heterosexual people, like don't manifest your heterosexuality, because we all do it, like not manifesting, but we live our lives every day and every hour, and even during the work hours. Of course, we talk to our colleagues, you know, we come to the work, we're just trying to share our thoughts, we're trying to share our lives and, you know, our feelings as well. So it's not possible. And in terms of the rights, everybody should have the same, you know, access to rights, not the rights. The rights are the same. We all know the concept of human rights is the same rights for everybody. But it's about practice. We need to have this equal access to exercise our rights, and on workplace as well. And we feel lack of it in Ukraine, even after this past amendment on the forbidden discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Can you talk about
this amendment? What does it actually mean?
It was an amendment to the existing labor code, which we had from the Soviet times, so that's the really bad one. But this amendment passed because of the push from the EU. It's like the minimum which Ukraine should, you know, adopt to go to this visa liberalization regime. And we did it, of course. But what do we have now on practice? That's the good question, because we still don't have any case of discrimination on the workplace based on sexual orientation or gender identity, because we still feel lack of mechanisms. Basically, this amendment should work together with anti-discrimination law. And anti-discrimination law don't have any mention in sexual orientation or gender identity. So basically, of course, you can go to police, for instance, or you can choose, we even don't know where to go with the claim that we were discriminated against. So basically, you just can go to the police and try to claim that it was a discrimination. But the issue of discrimination and anti-discrimination law clearly says that the burden of proof should be on the perpetrator. And we don't have these instruments for LGBT people.
The rights for the LGBT is, I could say, top on the agenda for trade unions in Sweden right now. If you compare to Ukraine, how are the trade unions in Ukraine working with these issues?
The issue with trade unions is also quite conservative sphere in Ukraine, because we have this history of trade unions from Soviet times.
Yeah.
And it's not the political discourse still. No. And this is the problem, because it's not the political the statements, it's not the political alliances the trade unions build, and they don't have any political voices or even you know, visibility. And this is an issue, I guess, because in other countries it's the movement, It's the political movement which also influence on social life and of course on the economical benefits in life of the other peoples. In Ukraine, it's not the case. We're still on this stage, then trade unions trying to find their place in the political and social area.
Khaled, in Sweden, we tend to think that we're best in the world on different things. And you've been working as a journalist here at the Swedish television and Swedish radio. Is workplaces in Sweden heaven for LGBT people?
Well, it's the positive side, like you can be openly gay, introduce your partner, and also hanging with your colleagues, with your partners. They know about you. You have like all this social life, and you don't need to reveal. You don't need, sorry, to hide your sexual or your gender. So it's of course, in this side, it will be like the heaven and like the best place to be and to work with. But of course, in the same time, maybe you don't need to talk so much about your sexual identity, because, you know, the journalist should has one of our jobs also to access families, houses, people, you know, and we meet sometimes conservative people. Maybe they know if the journalist is homosexual, gay man or gay woman, maybe they will not prefer to deal with him as a journalist. Maybe they don't trust. You know, it will affect in many ways sometimes the work as a journalist or as a doctor. I have a story actually. Yeah. I'm writing now about it, about like a doctor. He's from different background, living here. He removed a gay person from the Facebook, and he's a client just because he found out he's gay. So it's the fight is not over. This is what I'm telling. You know, people are like moving forward. If the gay movement will stop or will not go on and do more, people will get back. Okay. You know, so it's the fight is not over everywhere in Sweden or in any country. You know, a liberal country like Sweden. And I always believe like a event like the Pride is not for me as a person living in Sweden or whoever I am, Swede or migrant or refugee. The Pride in Sweden or Denmark or Norway or Germany, it's for people who cannot. They don't have pride, and they always look at the rainbow as a symbol of democracy and human rights. They never dare to have a T-shirt with the rainbow or to hang the flag at their place. You know, even inside the house. So I always believe like homosexuality is like, it seems like forever battle. You know, we have all to keep doing things, writing, reporting, like, you know, tell the people the stories, through literature or media.
Right. Ruben, could you please tell us some about the global work by trade unions fighting for democracy, human rights, and the rights of LGBT people?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I think it is important to really state that LGBT rights is about human rights and about decent work. So obviously, thus it is something that the trade unions need to work with, and it's also, of course, very relevant for the trade unions as well. And I think that the trade unions, or we coming from the trade union movement, we really need to realize that the trade unions are supposed to defend the rights of all employees, and that employees, of course, have different kind of sexual orientations as well. But the issue of LGBT is obviously quite new for the trade union movement, and I mean, there are work going on both at the global level as well as at the local level and national level. For example, Union to Union, where I come from, we both support the unions, global and locally, but we also work together with the global unions, the local unions, for example, local unions in Brazil, in the southern part of Africa, where local unions are trying to put the LGBT agenda more on the daily work agenda, for example, by educating members, supporting local LGBT organizations, supporting local LGBT campaigns, for example. Also at the global level, just to make one short point, they also trying to produce more material to be sure that they can inform more people at the global level about the importance of LGBT rights. Yes. So that is just a few examples from the work that is being done both locally but also at the global level as well.
But Ruben, how do you achieve a long-lasting change, would you say, globally?
Well,
do you have the recipe?
I think that a big part of the problem today when it comes to this issue is probably that there are some trade unions and, to be honest, also some trade unionists, to be really honest, that is not that open-minded when it comes to this issue. So part of the solution or part of the change is probably to change also the attitude among the trade unions, of course. But I think that is only the first step to make a real long-lasting change. I think that you need to ensure that the trade unions are perceived as open and welcoming organizations from an LGBT point of view. That is one issue. And I also think that it is really important that the trade unions continue to work towards a more inclusive and open protective legislation. And in the countries where we already have legislation, I think it is really important that we make sure that it's being put into practice. And I'm totally sure that the trade unions have an important role to play within this work as well. So hopefully it can lead to a long-lasting change.
Okay, and Olena, what could Swedish trade unions do to change some of the situation in Ukraine, in the workplaces?
I guess it could be more cooperation between Ukrainian trade unions and Swedish trade unions, and also from other countries as well, because we need a good examples how it should be. We actually feel the lack of those good examples, because of course we have this history of trade unions from Soviet times, which is not actually trade unions, let's be honest. And yeah, so cooperation and good examples of how trade unions, European trade unions, support LGBT rights, support women's rights, support migrants' rights, and so on, to make the coalitions and to agree on some basic things.
Okay, and Khaled, you've written an interesting book, Selamlik, on your fight for love. What would you say if all the trade unions in Sweden started circles reading your book? What would you say about that?
Well, this is great news for me, because I know that you are big network and you have like how many?
3 million members.
So they will learn about this book. This is like magic for me.
Yeah.
And
so let's hope for some magic.
Yeah, and this is magic as a personal writer. But of course, I believe like that's why I wrote this story. That's why I wrote this novel. Of course, I wrote it as a person, for me, like to empty some feelings I have and some things I lived and I have been through. But now I believe like I dream like also everyone can feel transported and inspired by Furat, the main character, because he is really a great person. He was like challenging and daring everyone, and he is fighting with silence. He was just confident to be a gay person. That's the only one weapon he had when he was in Syria. He kept his confidence inside him, and he went on. And I admire him. I always feel Furat is a flesh and blood person.
Okay, yes.
He is idol for many gay people from the Middle East and Syria to fight for his right, to say the right word, and also to embrace the homophobic. And actually, that's one of the things, the challenge I had as a writer.
Yes.
How to keep the embracing feeling, not to feel the homophobic hate for that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ruben, Khaled, and Olena. And there will be some book signing over there right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vi går programmet, och här på Globala Torgets scen så ska vi nu hälsa välkommen till Svenska PEN